When I started over in Coral Island, after the recent update in multiplayer, I thought I already knew exactly what to do. After all, I'd already spent hundreds of hours on my previous gameplays. But within just a few in-game days, I realized I was making the same beginner mistakes all over again. So, if you're starting your first multiplayer world, returning after the update, or convincing your friends to finally join you, here are the biggest beginner mistakes to avoid. Hopefully they'll save you the same time, resources, and frustration they would have saved me. Let's start with the mistake I didn't even realize I was making. For the longest time, I barely stepped inside the library. I was so focused on farming, mining, and cleaning the ocean that I completely forgot it even existed. Big mistake. The library isn't just full of lore. Reading books gives you skill mastery knowledge, friendship bonuses, and even recipes that normally take much longer to unlock. One of my favorite examples is the slime of replication recipe. Once I finally unlocked it, I started duplicating pink diamonds to give as gifts, which made building friendships so much easier. And here's why this matters even more in multiplayer. My friends and I naturally divided up the work. One person focused on mining, another cleaned the ocean, while I spent most of my time farming and decorating. It was efficient until I realized my other skill levels were falling way behind. The library helped fill those gaps without forcing me to completely change how I like to play. So don't make the same mistake I did. Every time your town rank increases, stop by the library. You might unlock something that saves you dozens of in-game days later. When I unlocked cooking, I immediately started buying kitchen utensils one after another. Then I discovered they regularly go on sale. While you don't need to watch the TV, every Tuesday, Socket Electronics announces one discounted kitchen utensil on the Coral Shopping channel, and it'll stay 10% off for the rest of the week. Early game doesn't give you much money to work with. Saving a few hundred coins here and there might not sound exciting, but those savings add up surprisingly quickly when you're buying multiple cooking tools. If you're planning on completing cooking bundles or making loved gifts for villagers, waiting a couple of days can save you a nice chunk of money. This is something I completely overlooked. I assumed one buff replaced another. It turns out they're actually separate. You can have one food buff, one drink buff, and a goddess blessing active at the same time. One important thing to know though is that the same type of effect doesn't combine. So if both your food and your drink increase movement speed, you won't get double the movement speed. It's better to mix different effects so you get the most value. And that completely changed my early game. Instead of constantly running out of stamina, I combined extra stamina with movement speed so I could get around the island faster while having more energy to work with. What made this even more useful in multiplayer is that my friends and I naturally split up the work. It made getting things done much faster, but it also meant our skill levels started growing very differently. My farming reached level 10 pretty quickly, while something like bug catching was still sitting at level 1 because I almost never did it. That's when I started changing my buff combinations. Instead of using movement speed and stamina all the time, I switched to proficiency buffs that helped level up the skills I wasn't naturally working on. It's a simple adjustment, but if your multiplayer group naturally divides the chores, it's one of the easiest ways to keep your neglected skills from falling too far behind. Every time I tried moving one of my crafting machines with a pickaxe, I kept getting an error saying someone else was using it. Except nobody was. It turns out there's currently a workaround. Instead of your pickaxe, use your axe. It lets you remove and relocate the machine without running into that frustrating error. Hopefully it's something that gets patched eventually, but until then, it'll save you a lot of unnecessary frustration when you're reorganizing your farm. One of the nicest surprises in multiplayer is that treasure chests aren't actually shared. Every player can claim their own rewards from mine treasure rooms, ocean rewards, and treasure chests around town. That means everyone gets useful early game resources instead of racing each other to open a chest first. The ocean rewards take a little more effort since each player has to swim over and claim them manually, but they're absolutely worth grabbing. Those extra kelps, stamina items, and resources can give everyone a stronger start. So don't assume someone else already collected it for you. Go grab your own rewards. Next is skipping cutscenes without talking to your friends. And this one caught us off guard. In multiplayer, if one player skips a cutscene, time immediately starts moving again. Which means, while one person is still watching the story, everyone else's day has already resumed. It's a tiny mechanic that can accidentally waste a surprising amount of time. Now, before anyone skips a scene, we simply ask first. And if someone needs to step away or their game crashes, don't forget that the host can pause the game for everyone. It sounds simple, but good communication honestly became one of our biggest quality of life upgrades. And if you've learned at least 2 things so far, I'd really appreciate you subscribing. I spent a lot of time digging through farming sims, life sims, and cozy RPGs to find the tips that actually save you time, not just the obvious ones. So if that's your kind of content, I'd love to have you here. Waiting too long to complete bundles was probably the mistake that surprised me the most. Because we had multiple people working together, everything felt faster. We assumed we could ignore the early bundles and come back later. Big mistake. Many bundle rewards are machines you would have crafted anyway. The difference is that the bundles could have been given to you much earlier. We ended up spending resources crafting machines only to unlock free copies shortly after. If we'd focused on the bundles first, we could have used those materials somewhere else. Completing the crop altar rewards you with the greenhouse, which is a huge milestone because it lets you grow crops year-round. But here's the mistake we made. We assumed that once we unlocked the greenhouse, we'd immediately be able to buy every seasonal seed from the general store. That wasn't the case. In our playthrough, some seasonal seeds still weren't available because our town rank hadn't increased yet. By the time we finally unlocked them, the season was already ending. That meant waiting an entire in-game year just to grow some of those crops. So here's the tip I wish I knew sooner. If you're getting close to the end of a season, buy a few extra seasonal seeds before the season changes, especially the ones you haven't had a chance to grow yet. Even if you unlock the greenhouse shortly afterward, you may not have immediate access to those seeds in the general store. Planning just a little bit ahead can save you from waiting an entire in-game year. Once my friends and I stopped making these mistakes, everything started clicking. We progressed faster, wasted fewer resources, and honestly spent more time enjoying the cozy parts of the game instead of fixing problems we'd accidentally created. And if you're looking for another cozy game that's just as much fun to experience with friends, I have put together a list of my favorite farming and life sims that are perfect for co-op. Click on the next video, and I'll help you find your next adventure together.